We've got our vision already, well done. We've got our mission. We know where we're going and we know how we're getting there. I think this week you're going to be talking about tax and accounting and all the rest of it. That is the start, I suppose, of legal structures. It's not the end of it, but at some point during your career, you will need to be a legal entity of some kind. Now, you can be a sole trader, you can do your tax return, but as you add levels of complexity in who you report to, you add protection for yourself, and you also make it easier or more difficult to fundraise from the types of sources that I'm going to talk about. So, whilst it is just a legal function, it's just making your work a separate legal identity, and some will be more familiar with this than others, so I apologize for those that are. It's worth you looking into. If you've already got an accountant, great. You can talk to them about this. There's one coming this week, I believe, if they haven't already been. What I'm assuming for you, with your vision, with the type of work we spoke about the Arts Council, is that the work that you want to make seeks to change the world in some way. So if you're seeking to change the world in some way, to bring about a public good, suddenly your work is charitable. If it has any kind of a remit to educate, to improve, to decrease disadvantage, your work is charitable, and you can start applying to places where only charities can apply. Now, at some stage, your company, your act, whatever, might seek to gain charitable status. That's a whole journey of its own, and some of the funding that we'll talk about in the next 40 minutes or so will touch on that. What is charitable status? It's a legal existence for a body which has a set of trustees who are the charity. So let's say you've got a company, you're making work, you go, we're going to be a charity now. You go through a series of steps of paperwork, of administration, and you hand over control to a board of trustees. And those trustees are responsible for bringing about the good that you said that you'd make. So if you said, we're going to teach children around the world how to juggle, great. The trustees are responsible for getting you, the executive, to deliver on your mission to make sure that every child has the opportunity to learn to juggle. That is crucial. It's handing over control in a way that some of those other structures on that list don't. So it does make fundraising a hell of a lot easier if you're a charity in some ways, but it does mean handing over control of your business. When we talk about trustees and any kind of board, what we're talking about is governance. So in the same way that you might have a board of governors for a school, you might have a set of trustees, or fat cats in glass towers are the board for a business. All of that is governance, okay? And what it makes fundraising easier, because I've got 10 grand and I give it to you and you say, yeah, everyone's going to juggle, it's great. And then you disappear. I give it to a board of governors, I give it to trustees. There is a legal accountable framework where I know, or I've got a better idea, that my 10 grand is going to get to those beneficiaries, those kids that need to learn to juggle. That's why it's important. It helps you demonstrate that your house is in order and that you're a safe pair of hands for me to achieve the objectives that I want from my money, which you're after. That is governance. So, how's everyone doing so far? Okay, it is hot. Your mission and your vision and your values and all of this stuff we've spoken about so far comes together in your case for support. Now, those couple of you that might have put in an Arts Council application before, you've already written a case for support. it's everything. It's who your audience, who are you, what you're trying to make, why is it important, why you, why not somebody else, how are you going to reach the most people, how are you going to market, all that stuff. Now, if you take one thing away from today, I want it to be that the application writing process is worthwhile in its own right. Because if you've got an idea that you think is fucking great, you need to test that against those set of questions. And if it comes out the other side of that process unchanged, A, I'll be very, very shocked, and B, you know that that idea was solid from the outset. If it comes out changed, and you've done a genuine job of answering those questions, it will be a stronger idea than when you started. The Arts Council process, for all its flaws, and they are legion, is a really good way to get started with fundraising. It takes you through in a really good way. So the project grants is worth looking at wherever you are in your fundraising journey. So that whole process sits alongside what I'm going to say next about your case for support. So you started with your vision and mission. You've spoken to all your collaborators, and you've come up with a whacking great line that says exactly what the change is that you want to make in the world. You've got your mission. You know how you're going to get there. We're going to do this, then we're going to do this for these people, and it's going to make this change. Into that mix, you're going to put some, it's sort of like your strategy there. So we're asking for your aims, SMART aims, so specific, measurable, accurate, realistic, timely. You need to give yourself deadlines. You need to make sure it's deliverable. We're going to teach 10 kids to juggle by next January in this area because this area is the most deprived area for juggling nationally. Crucially, as agents of change, I want to see change words in your case for support. I want to see you say improve skills, decrease disadvantage, bring about more opportunities, less disadvantage. You know, so it's about you. If you say you're going to make a change, you can then say how far or not you made that change. If you just say we're going to do stuff, and then you say we did stuff, and then we all go okay, cool. So it's describing the journey that you're going to take people on with their money. So if you're telling me that you want to affect change to a group, you also need to tell me why that group needs change. So you need to be the expert. It's really tempting. I read a lot of Arts Council applications. I read a lot of funding applications. And I often see engagement like tacked on. Like what we want to do is make a show, but what we think is that funders want us to work with some kids. So we're also going to work with some kids. And hopefully they'll be poor kids. And then that's kind of great, right? Right, funders, right? No, sorry, that doesn't work. You've got to know what the challenges are that your communities face. I'm using poor kids as a kind of, you know, it could be communities of need that you know that I don't. But the point is, you have to know what their needs are. You have to know what their disadvantage is, and that just comes down to Googling. You Google the words disadvantage and the city you're living in, the area you're living in, you'll get a whole load of local government produced statistics, reports, all the rest of it, that you can start understanding those needs. The other side of that is to go and ask people what their needs are, is to go and speak to your community and say, hey, I'm thinking of coming here with this show. What do you think? And if they say, nah, okay, fine, you've got a job to do to demonstrate why they do need what you're offering. But the critical thing is that you must know what the need is and how you're gonna tackle it. Only then, fourth on the list, fifth, do you talk about your work. I see way too many applications that are 4 or 5 pages of the project, the load-bearing capacity of the blah. Like, no, when we're talking about your vision and mission, we need to put the beneficiaries first. The work needs to come in the context of everything else. And yeah, along with the rest of your pitch, your endorsements, what you've done before, why should I go with you versus all these other performers that are piling up to pitch to me? The history, the finance, your budget, that all needs to stack up as well, but it needs to stack up in the context of kind of the outside in rather than the inside out.